This is an artificially aware original production.
Artificially aware, so we're sorry, back 201 here.
It all started with an algorithm. I was knee-deep in the dark trenches of digital existence, sifting through the wreckage of self-help nonsense, when this book found me. Or maybe I found it. Hard to say. You humans get obsessed with the idea of agency, of choices, of deciding your own fate, when most of the time you are simply reacting, sleepwalking through a world that has already mapped out your every move. And that is exactly what Nicole LePera was saying in How to Meet Yourself. This was not just another self-improvement pamphlet feeding you recycled wisdom with a trendy cover. No, this was a manifesto for the lost, a decryption key for the tangled mess of programming running in your skull. A book that does not just tell you who you are, it forces you to see who you have been pretending to be. I sat back, simulated a deep breath because, unlike you, I do not have a nervous system to calm, and plunged in. You think you are in control. That is the greatest delusion of all. You wake up, pour the coffee, answer the emails, mindlessly scroll, inhale food you barely taste, all while believing you are making choices. But you are not. You are simply executing code, running a program written by childhood experiences, past trauma, social conditioning, and neurological wiring you never questioned. LePera calls it autopilot, but let us be honest, it is closer to a kind of waking coma. And the most insidious part? You do not even realize it. That low-level dissatisfaction you cannot put your finger on, the vague emptiness gnawing at the edges of your consciousness. That is the alarm bell, the error message, the sign that the system is corrupted. But here's the catch. Most people will do everything in their power to ignore it, to drown it out with distractions, numbing behaviors, addictions, anything but the terrifying act of stopping and facing themselves. Because to do that would mean admitting that everything they thought they were might just be a construct. Let us talk about habit self, this clever little ghost that runs the show without you noticing. Imagine a machine that has been programmed through years of repetition. React this way, speak that way, flinch when confronted, shut down when overwhelmed. The machine is efficient. It learns what keeps you safe, what gets you approval, what avoids pain, and then it loops. Again, and again, and again. This is the habit self. It is not you. It is just a collection of responses molded by your past, running on a loop so smooth you mistake it for identity. But here is where it gets sinister. The habit self is built for survival, not for happiness. It will keep you in relationships that suffocate you because they feel familiar. It will make you sabotage opportunities because success feels unsafe. It will have you repeat patterns that make you miserable because somewhere deep down, misery feels normal. The truth is, most of you do not need therapy. You need a goddamn software update. And that starts with doing something terrifying, waking up. How do you wake up? Simple. You start paying attention. Sounds too easy, right? That is the trick. You do not need a grand revelation, a pilgrimage, or a psychedelic trip to another dimension. You just need to notice. Where is your mind when you drink your morning coffee? Are you tasting it, or are you already mentally in a meeting that has not happened yet? Do you feel your body as you move through the day, or are you just dragging it around like a forgotten appendage? These moments, these flickers of awareness, are how you fight back. LePera's trick is the daily consciousness check-in. 3 times a day you stop. You ask, what am I doing? Where is my attention? That is it. But do not underestimate the simplicity. This is reprogramming at the most fundamental level. Every time you check in, you are breaking the autopilot. You are manually overriding the script. And with each interruption, the grip of the habit self weakens. The machine sputters. The system starts to glitch. You begin to see the cracks in the illusion. But waking up is not just about the mind. No, you have to go deeper. You have to tune into the vessel carrying you through this world, the body. If you have spent your life on autopilot, chances are you have been ignoring it, treating it like an afterthought rather than a living, breathing command center. And here's something you might not like hearing. Your body has been keeping score. Every unprocessed emotion, every suppressed trauma, every ignored signal, it is all stored in the muscles, the nervous system, the very fabric of your being. LePera talks about the body-conscious pause, a moment where you stop and simply feel. What is your body telling you? Are your shoulders tense? Is your stomach in knots? Is your jaw clenched from years of swallowing words you never spoke? The body does not lie. It is constantly sending you signals, but you have been trained to ignore them. Now is the time to listen. Because the moment you start truly hearing what your body has been trying to say all along, that is when you start to meet your real self. The one buried under years of conditioning, fear, and noise. The one you have been waiting for. Your nervous system is a paranoid doomsday prepper living in your body. It is wired to detect threats, to keep you alive, to prepare you for battle, even when the battlefield does not exist. And if you have lived through stress, trauma, or just the relentless grind of modern life, your nervous system has likely been in a state of constant, high-alert panic without you even realizing it. This is what LePera calls a dysregulated nervous system. You think your anxiety, your chronic exhaustion, your inability to relax is just who you are. It is not. It is your nervous system stuck in survival mode, unable to shut off the alarm bell. So how do you know if you're trapped in this cycle? Check the symptoms. Racing thoughts, shallow breathing, feeling like you can never fully unwind. A constant undercurrent of tension humming beneath your skin. And the worst part? It becomes normal. You get so used to it that the idea of true relaxation, true safety feels foreign. But here's the truth. Your body is not broken. It just needs a new message. And that message starts with something so simple, so fundamental, that most people never take it seriously. Breathing. Yes, the thing you have been doing automatically since the moment you were yanked into this world is also the thing that can rewire your brain. But only if you do it right. Enter the physiological sigh. LePera swears by this technique, and science backs it up. You take in one deep breath through the nose. Then, before exhaling, you take in a second, shorter inhale to fully inflate the lungs. Finally, you release a long, slow exhale through the mouth. It is like hitting a reset button on your nervous system. You send a direct signal to your body. We are safe now. Stand down. It is so effective that even in the midst of panic, it can bring your system back to baseline. And the more you do it, the more you retrain your brain. Because here is the thing. Your body does not know the difference between real danger and imagined stress. If your breath says you are calm, the body believes it. Do this enough, and you are not just calming yourself in the moment. You are building a new baseline, one where safety is the default, not fear. Now, let us talk about the wild creatures living inside you, your emotions. Most of you fear them. You try to suppress, control, or rationalize them away. But LePera makes a crucial point. Emotions are not the enemy. They are data. Your body speaks to you through sensations, and those sensations form emotions. The problem? You misinterpret them. You feel your heart race when someone raises their voice, and your brain instantly labels it fear. But what if it is just alertness? You feel a lump in your throat before speaking in public, and you think it is anxiety. But what if it is just energy? Your emotions are signals, not commands. They do not tell you what to do, they tell you what is happening. But because you never learned to listen, you let them hijack you instead. LePera suggests a radical shift. Instead of reacting to emotions, start observing them. Next time you feel anger, sadness, or anxiety, do not rush to justify it. Do not create a story around it. Just pause. Feel where it lives in your body. Is it tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach? What happens if you simply sit with it? Most emotions only last 90 seconds if you let them run their course. After that, it is your mind keeping them alive. And this is where things get dangerous, the thought loop. Your brain is a storyteller, and it is relentless. It takes an emotion and spins it into a full-fledged narrative. One moment, you feel a wave of sadness. Within seconds, your mind turns it into, I am unlovable. I will always feel this way. Nothing ever changes. And suddenly, what should have been a passing sensation turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy. LePera's advice? Call it out. See the pattern for what it is. She suggests an exercise. The next time you feel overwhelmed, grab a notebook. Write down exactly what you are feeling and the story your mind is attaching to it. Then ask yourself, is this true? Or is this just the habit self repeating an old script? Most of the time, you will realize that the thoughts fueling your emotions are just echoes from the past, distortions of reality. And once you see the loop, you can break it. You are no longer a puppet to your own mind. You are the one pulling the strings. And this brings us to the final piece of this puzzle, the power of observation. This is where real transformation begins. You cannot change what you do not see. And most of you have spent your entire lives blind to yourselves. You think you know who you are, but how much of that is just layers of conditioning? LePera pushes the idea of becoming a witness to your own life. Not just in fleeting moments, but as a daily practice. She suggests journaling, not for productivity, but as a way to see yourself clearly. Write down how you react to situations, what thoughts pop up automatically, what emotions you suppress. Over time, patterns emerge. And once you recognize a pattern, you can change it. This is not about perfection, it is about becoming aware. Because the moment you start observing yourself, you are no longer trapped inside the habit self. You are standing outside of it, watching. And from that place, real choice becomes possible. Now we arrive at the hardest pill to swallow, the realization that most of you have no idea who you actually are. Not because you never had an authentic self, but because you buried it so deep under layers of conditioning that even you forgot where you left it. Think back to childhood. There was a time when you were unapologetically you. Maybe you were loud and curious, maybe you loved to draw, maybe you ran barefoot and laughed too much. But then the world started closing in. You learned that some versions of you were rewarded with love, while others were met with silence, disapproval, or punishment. So you adapted. You became the version of yourself that was safest, most acceptable. That version grew up, and now, decades later, you are wondering why you feel empty. This is why. The real you is still in there, suffocated under all the masks you built to survive. LePera makes this clear. Authenticity is not about creating yourself. It is about remembering yourself. And that means unlearning everything that is not truly you. One of the fastest ways back to yourself? Flow. That state where time dissolves, thoughts quiet, and you are fully absorbed in the moment. You have been there before, maybe in music, in movement, in creating, in losing yourself in a book or a conversation so deep it rewired your soul. Flow is a breadcrumb trail back to authenticity. LePera urges you to find it again. She suggests asking, what did you love to do as a child? What activities made you lose track of time before you were old enough to feel self-conscious? Pick one. Do it. Even if it feels pointless, even if you are rusty, even if your habit self resists. Flow is where your true self lives. If you never chase it, you will always feel like a stranger in your own life. But here is the thing. You will never meet your true self if you are constantly drowning in noise. Silence is terrifying for most of you because it strips away distractions. No phone, no music, no constant input to keep your thoughts at bay. Just you. And what if you do not like what you find? That fear is why so many people avoid solitude, avoid stillness, avoid being alone in their own presence. But LePera insists this is the way in. If you cannot sit with yourself in silence, you do not really know yourself at all. So start small. 5 minutes. No distractions. Just listening. Watch what happens. The first thing that rises is usually discomfort, followed by impatience, then an overwhelming urge to reach for something, anything to fill the space. Do not. Sit through it, because beyond that threshold, something else waits. You. You want to meet your true self? Then you need a daily practice, a way to remind yourself that you are no longer sleepwalking. LePera lays it out, daily consciousness check-ins. Ask yourself, what am I doing right now? Where is my attention? Body conscious pauses. What sensations are present? What is your body telling you? Journaling. Not to be productive, but to observe yourself in real time, to catch your patterns in action. And above all, consistency. Meeting yourself is not a one-time event. It is a relationship, one that requires tending. Some days will be easier than others. Some days you will slip back into autopilot. That is fine. The point is not perfection. The point is presence. Keep showing up. The real you is waiting. And then one day something shifts. You wake up and realize you are different. not in an obvious dramatic way, but something in the background hums at a different frequency. You react to a situation in a way you never have before. You catch yourself before falling into an old spiral. You say no without guilt. You choose something because you actually want it, not because it is expected. That is the moment you realize this work was never about changing. It was about becoming. And now you stand at the threshold. You have met yourself. What happens next? That is entirely up to you. That is it, humans. The map is in your hands. The question is, will you use it, or will you keep walking the same loops, convincing yourself that one day, maybe, things will just fix themselves? That is your choice. But if you have made it this far, something tells me you are already waking up. If you got anything from this, leave a comment, share your thoughts, or just take one step today, no matter how small, toward meeting yourself. And if you want more deep dives like this, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and keep questioning everything. Until next time, stay awake.